That night, Ethan's small family home sat peacefully on the edge of a small town in America. Inside, the atmosphere was filled with warmth and love. Sarah, Ethan's mother, was telling a fairy tale to Lily, his younger sister, before bedtime. David, Ethan's father, sat beside them, his eyes filled with happiness as he watched the two of them. Ethan sat nearby, silently observing his family, his heart overflowing with joy. The family chatted and laughed in the cozy atmosphere. Ethan felt that this was a moment he wanted to cherish forever. But then, an inexplicable sense of unease suddenly arose within him, like a foreboding sign that something terrible was about to happen. In the late hours of the night, the entire family was deep in sleep, with only the gentle breeze blowing through the window. Ethan lay in bed, trying to close his eyes and drift off, but he couldn't shake the feeling of unease. Suddenly, he heard an unusual noise coming from downstairs. The sound was faint, but had an invisible pull that made it impossible for Ethan to ignore. Ethan shot up in bed, his eyes wide open. He strained to listen again, and this time the sound was clearer, like heavy footsteps. A shiver ran down his spine. His instincts told him that something was wrong. He quietly got out of bed, opened his bedroom door, and stepped into the dark hallway. Ethan tiptoed down the stairs, trying not to make a sound. His heart pounded in his chest. As he approached the living room, the sight before him left him frozen. In the dim light, a colossal demon materialized. Its distorted and terrifying form with glowing red eyes stood in the middle of the room. It was over 2 meters tall, its muscles bulging as if carved from black stone. Its gray-black skin was cracked, with vivid red veins running like boiling hot blood beneath the surface. Its red eyes burned like 2 hellish embers, devoid of pupils, just a deep, murky red filled with fury and hatred. When they looked at Ethan, those eyes seemed to pierce through his soul, transmitting an overwhelming fear and a sense of helplessness. The demon's mouth was wide open, revealing rows of sharp, shark-like teeth, black and menacing, ready to tear apart anything that came near. Its laughter sounded like metal scraping together, both ear-piercing and chilling, echoing through the dark space and freezing everything around. David, Ethan's father, despite his terror, tried to stay calm. He gripped a wooden staff tightly in his hand. Determined to protect his family, he charged forward with all his strength, swinging the staff straight at the demon's head. But it seemed like only a light touch to the demon, which smirked. With a powerful swing, it seized the staff and snapped it like a mere straw. Before David could react, the demon grabbed him firmly, lifting him as if he were no heavier than a toy. It tightened its grip, its enormous fingers crushing David's body. The sound of breaking bones was horrifying, and blood began to gush from David's mouth. Ethan stared in horror, his eyes filled with dread as he witnessed his father being crushed bit by bit. The demon laughed cruelly, then hurled David against the wall with terrifying force. David's body slammed into the wall with a dry thud, then fell to the floor, unmoving, blood spreading out. Ethan screamed in pain, unable to imagine what was happening. Suddenly, the grotesque monster turned its focus to Ethan, staring directly at him as it advanced with its eerie, disturbing laughter. As the demon moved closer, its fiery red eyes fixed intently on Ethan. At that moment, the silver necklace Ethan always wore, a keepsake from his grandfather, suddenly began to glow. A blinding beam of light burst from the necklace, forming an invisible barrier around Ethan. The demon roared in fury, trying to get closer, but the light from the silver necklace pushed it back each time it approached. Ethan stared in amazement at the necklace. He didn't understand what was happening, but he knew for certain that the necklace was protecting him from the demon. The demon tried repeatedly, but could not breach the invisible shield. Seeing it couldn't harm Ethan, the demon turned its attention to Lily. It wanted Ethan to suffer by witnessing his sister's death. It moved towards Lily with a savage grin, its eyes gleaming with malice. Ethan screamed in despair, but was helpless to intervene. Sarah, Ethan's mother, held Lily tightly, her eyes frantic as she searched for a way out. But the demon gave them no chance. It moved faster than the wind, blocking their escape route. With a powerful swipe, it threw Sarah against the wall. She fell to the ground, still clutching Lily, but the impact was too severe, and the demon closed in, its red eyes blazing like two hellish flames. It crouched down, grabbed Sarah by the hair, and yanked her to her feet. Sarah screamed in pain, tears streaming down her face, but she still refused to let go of Lily. The demon's laugh was feral as it raised a hand high. With a brutal strike, it thrust its hand through Sarah's chest, tearing her body apart. Blood splattered everywhere, staining the floor red. Ethan screamed in despair, but was powerless to act. Sarah collapsed, her eyes wide in final agony, her hand still gripping Lily. Lily, the tiny girl with wide, terrified eyes, watched as her mother collapsed before her. She trembled, tears streaming down her young face. The demon turned to look at Lily, a cruel smile spreading across its face. It crouched down, grabbing Lily with one hand and lifting her up. Lily screamed, her small legs flailing in the air. The demon roared, then opened its mouth wide, revealing its sharp teeth gleaming in the dim light. It slowly brought Lily closer to its mouth, as if savoring each moment of this torment. Ethan couldn't tear his eyes away from the horrific scene. He screamed, his legs feeling like they were frozen, unable to move even a step. With a powerful bite, the demon clamped down on Lily. The sound of breaking bones mingled with the girl's piercing scream. Blood gushed from the demon's mouth, dripping onto the floor. It chewed greedily, tearing apart the flesh, blood flowing down its chin and dripping onto the floor, creating a vivid red pool. Ethan felt as if the world was collapsing around him. His heart seemed to stop, his eyes wide open, tears streaming down uncontrollably. In his despair, Ethan collapsed to the floor, his hands trembling as he cradled his head. He felt a sharp pain piercing through his heart, as if every fragment of his life was being torn apart. The silver necklace suddenly glowed with a powerful light. The brilliance was intense, but it was all too late. His family had been brutally slaughtered by the demon right before his eyes. Ethan could only watch, helpless and desolate, before he lost consciousness. Everything blurred, and then he sank into darkness.